I saw this story and I saw this conversation with CeeDee Lamb, and it was Mike McCarthy talking about him. And I heard Sean say something, I want to say it was yesterday morning, because I do Tolo. Sean Sharif, RJ Choppy,
Damn Skippy.
Bobby Belt, doing a great job with Peyton. And I think the word was, I don't have jealousy anymore. I don't have Jefferson jealousy anymore because CeeDee Lamb has turned out to be really good. But everybody had this moment. You have this moment of, well, that dude was drafted lower than you. Why is he producing more than you? You're not that guy yet. When CeeDee Lamb had Amari Cooper here, it was difficult for CeeDee Lamb to become CeeDee Lamb the way we see him last year. He would not have had the year that he had last year if Amari Cooper was still here. I still believe this to my core. He was a legitimate number one wide receiver for the Dallas Cowboys this year. If you wanted both of them, I understand that. And KG and I have had this conversation a couple different times too. I wanted both. I'm greedy. I get it. I understand that. But you finally, here you are in this place where you have CeeDee Lamb, and this is what Mike McCarthy had to say about him. He said, you always knew CeeDee had it. You could see that right away when he came here as a rookie as the 17th pick. You start outside, that's his menu, outside, and then you move him inside. See what his menu is inside. My point is, as we move him around, we have to continue to create more opportunities for him. And he said, I've seen it with these guys before. I saw it with Devontae Adams. I saw it with Jordy Nelson. I saw it with, and he just went on to name all these different receivers. And he said, I can see Donald Driver, all these different types of guys, Greg Jennings, those body types, the ability, the speed that they have, he can be that. So my question is, because I still think there are a lot of fans out there that still think CeeDee Lamb is not that guy for this team. And I think that's kind of weird because the dude has put up production that puts him in this category. There are seven other receivers who are considered premier pass catchers.
Okay.
250 receptions, 3,000 yards receiving, 20 touchdowns since CeeDee Lamb entered the league in 2020.
And we're only talking wide receivers. We're not throwing any tight ends in here?
No, just wide receiver.
Got you.
CeeDee Lamb has 260 catches, 3,396 receiving yards, and 20 receiving touchdowns. He's one of 8 players to get 250, 3,000, 20 touchdowns since 2020. Here are their names. Devontae Adams.
It's a good name.
Justin Jefferson.
Very good name.
Stephon Diggs.
Great name.
Actually, I'm sorry. There's a tight end there. Travis Kelce.
Yep. Good name.
Cooper Kupp.
Good name.
Tyreek Hill.
Yep.
And maybe the most underrated name on this list, Tyler Lockett.
Look, I'm not going to disagree with you on that regard.
I have many years have I spent looking at Tyler Lockett's numbers and gone, why did I not draft him in fantasy football? Because that dude catches everything in his direction. So those numbers right there are the elite wide receivers in the NFL right now. All of those guys are the elite wide receivers. And if you're going to go do a fantasy draft this year, in whatever order it is, it's going to be Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams, Stephon Diggs, Cooper Kupp, and CeeDee Lamb's got to be one of those names for you. And I'm just kind of in here. I'm good. I'm glad we're getting this because I don't want to fight about this.
Yeah.
I want to know why people don't think he's that guy yet. From the 972, he's not. Lamb is the Dak of wide receivers. Good but not great and a true number one. From the 817, he's not flashy on the field. Doesn't make wow plays. Stats are good, but number ones show they are number ones. And then from the 972, lots of bad takes. I'm not sure exactly what they're talking about there. But
no idea.
When you see CeeDee Lamb, do you feel that dude is considered and is a legit number one in the NFL right now?
I think he made that transition during last season. And I think that if we're going to talk about why some people might not view it that way, there hasn't been the overwhelming amount of evidence to get him to that place. Because he started getting there. I've been rewatching for the Get Right. I've been rewatching last year's season, the 2022 Cowboys season. And you watch even in the Green Bay game where he puts up 150 yards, it didn't feel like it was dominant. And then I believe it was, oh man, my memory's already failing me, I believe it was the Giants game soon thereafter. That's when he starts getting out here and looking.
The one where he missed the catch in the wide open field deep from Cooper Rush, and then in the second half he makes the catch. I don't know if you remember that. It was I think it was Monday night, Sunday night football game. He's downfield, wide open, ball hits him in the hands chest. He doesn't catch it. He makes the next play later in the next half. If that's what you're talking about. It was against the Giants.
No, that was the first Giants game.
Okay,
that was week 3. I'm talking week 12, I believe.
All right,
or it might have been Minnesota. But
okay.
It was one of those games once we got a little bit closer to the middle of the season when it's like, okay, now he's exerting his dominance. And mind you, it was the one play that sticks out, or the two plays that stick out in mind. There's one play where he has his left arm being held. A flag is thrown, and he's like, it doesn't matter. I'll just catch the ball with my other hand. You start seeing those flashes of brilliance. But I think someone gets to some of it, right? And I know a lot of people are like, oh, man, nobody is saying that he isn't good. There's some people that still have some concerns, and I think a lot of those stem from, and where is the text line? From the 214. It's the drops, man. We can't forget the drops. And that's the one thing that I point to. If you're going to say CeeDee Lamb is not yet the bona fide number one wide receiver, almost like we talk about ace pitchers, that would be the one thing that you say. And I think that was more of a first half of last season's situation. So I think that what we're going to see is you're going to see a 2023 season that fully solidifies and eliminates all doubts on the fact that CeeDee Lamb is capable of doing it. I like ESPN analytics from 538. I think you're familiar with like the statistical website 538.
It's really good.
They put together a wide receiver NFL rankings, and they rank them on their ability to get open, their ability to catch, and yards after catch, and put together an overall composite score. Based on that overall composite score, CeeDee Lamb ranks 12th in all with all pass catchers. The place one of those three categories where he's a little bit lower is catch, and it's because of those drops. And I think that once you see those catches or the drops kind of lessen and those catches become more consistent, all the other things are there. The yards per route, the targets, like all of those things are there. His ability in space, we know that uniquely, right? And his ability to separate also was a little bit, iffy last year, but I think we saw that with all of the Cowboys receivers for a good amount. But you get him in that opportunity to catch balls consistently, I think people will come around to the idea that he is, in fact, a number one wide receiver.
Last year, no other Dallas player totaled over 60 catches or 600 yards. Lamb had 107 receptions, accounted for 30% of the Cowboys' team catches in total. That is the second highest rate in the NFL. He was only behind Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill accounted for 32% of the receptions for the Miami Dolphins. CeeDee Lamb carried that for you last year. Obviously, a 17-game season. You see how those numbers kind of play out and everything. And even this year, Schottenheimer was like, hey, look, guys, you might not see a bunch of guys get a bunch of yards, but I think you're going to see, guys get it's divvied up across the field. Maybe one day you have this, one day you have that. But CeeDee Lamb is definitely going to be involved. This is Mike McCarthy again. He said, I think what you're seeing is natural progression. We understand what it was like when he was here as a rookie, but now, specifically last year, he was featured a tremendous amount of the game. We need to continue to do that. And he said, what I learned about him, that body type, he needs to be able to do the interior routes too. That's where the money's at. The fastest way to the end zone is through the post, over the middle. Fastest way to the end zone is up the seams. His ability to get out there and outside the numbers is great. He has all of that, everything that goes along with it. It's good to see those numbers, but I am seeing a lot of people that are texting in. I wanted to kind of get to these texts for part of the conversation because it looks like a lot of it is less about CeeDee Lamb and more about the quarterback.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who are coming in talking about Dak Prescott.
And that's something that if you can agree and disagree, you can have all sorts of thoughts. I have my personal thoughts on Dak Prescott. Some people think I'm too homer. Some people think I'm too hard on him.
Which also, if quarterback is your situation, there's been a lot of great wide receivers that have shown themselves to be great despite quarterback play, right?
Justin Jefferson has Kirk Cousins, who I still think I give him a lot more credit than he has natural talent, all right? When his mama picked him up out of the crib.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
There we go.
My bad. No, he has a lot of natural ability. But I also think that Kirk Cousins doesn't believe in himself. But whenever he's out there with Justin Jefferson, man, he makes it look very good. From the 817, forgot Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase, yeah, he'll be drafted there, but his numbers in the last 3 years didn't stack up to the numbers that they had those guys in that category for. From the 254, CeeDee's fine. I don't think he is like an exceptional game breaker, but is a functional number one. He reminds me of Husmanzada late career. And that's what, or Anquan Bolden. I disagree with that. And the reason being is I hear a lot of people say he would be a great number two for your team. Man, if you have a number two that's CeeDee Lamb, your number one is got to be great. Like your number one's Justin Jefferson.
Sure.
That's the cat. Like that's where this is, again, this is what I'm trying to get people to understand is that's what the category that he's in. Husmanzada was a good receiver. CeeDee Lamb, when he was in college at OU, he was the lead of a very good group of young receivers at that time. He was the guy that they were like, that's the dude that's going to make the big play.
Can I run something by you that I've been thinking about lately?
Yeah.
I wonder if some people's pushback on the idea of CeeDee Lamb as bona fide number one caliber wide receiver is a view of the league that has been shifting under our noses where, passing is more downfield consistently. Whereas if you've noticed, it feels like the league is working a lot more shorter outside passing routes. Not to say that you don't take shots downfield. Absolutely. That's always going to be a part of the game. But it feels like the passing games are more consistently shorter outside. And getting guys into space, especially with these smaller, shiftier wide receivers, not to say that they can't do some of the things but you're not seeing as many guys being plain old, and it's not fair to say plain old Megatron because that's absurd.
Yeah.
But guys that are just Anquan Bolden possession receiver all the time, whereas you're seeing a lot more guys playing shorter in space. So I think that when you see some of these number one wide receivers, Jamar Chase is one of those types of guys where it's like the abilities to do things in the shorter intermediate space is part of what they do. They just do it incredible. Like Stephon Diggs, another one of those guys, intermediate type of spaces, but he does it at an incredibly high level. And I wonder if that's some of the holdup. Do you think that might be part of it?
It could be. They just haven't seen that part of him yet. I think that Mike McCarthy I think his plan this year is going to be, I think he's going to use Michael Gallup in possession situations, third down, tough situations across the middle, lots of drags and hooks for Michael Gallup.
Slants where he can use his big body to kind of shield off the ball.
Yes, and I think those routes, if Michael Gallup holds onto the ball and shows that he's going to be a problem, I think it's going to create bigger plays for CeeDee Lamb. Because CeeDee Lamb's best attribute is ball's in my hand now, and I have space to work in. How do I make guys miss? That's what I saw in college, at least. Maybe that's just because he was playing against a bunch of bums in college. Maybe that's what it was. But he makes
which bums? Would
Baylor,
you like to call out
like
school?
The Baylor game. Remember?
Shout out to all our friends in Waco listening right now.
So I think whenever I discuss CeeDee Lamb, this can be that year. This is the year that CeeDee Lamb puts it all together.
No, you got to do it with inflection.
Well, maybe it can be the year that he changes all these people's minds.
Okay,
because there are a lot of Tolos also texting in that people that don't believe that are just foolish right now.